Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today the point of discussion is arms control. Since times immemorials, world has been experiencing different destructions, blasting, devastations, injuries, wars, problems and what not. But to get them sorted, they all ended up in signing a number of agreements and number of treaties. So, coming towards the part of weapons which we will discuss today, over a millennia of human history, different types of weapons have been invented. Today, the concept which is led to decrease the nuclear weapons or the nuclear arms tension among the states is known as arms control. This topic, arms control, can be defined as international restriction upon development, production, stockpiling, proliferation and usage of small arms, conventional weapons and weapons which can cause mass destruction. So don't get puzzled by the concept of arms control because that is really much simple. As you all know that since the World War I and World War II, there was the arms race among the states. Arms race was at its peak. Each state was very conscious about their national interest and motives. They were in a competition. They were in a competition with the other states to manufacture more and more nuclear weapons and nuclear arms in order to ensure their national security, peace, and tranquility. Thus, they all started a campaign of increasing their nuclear weapons and nuclear arms. But this scenario, this understanding can be made by a concept that if you get to know of the time in 1945, the attacks at Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So the number of weapons used at the time in that war were 80% increased at the end of 1950, at the end of 1950s. So we come to know that the expansion of the nuclear weapons and nuclear arms were increasing day by day, and this was not decreasing and stopped by any of the state. Thus, this scenario, this condition was threatening condition for all other small states as well. Thus, the nuclear states at the time, the 5 nuclear states or the other powerful states, accompanied by the other small states, made a concept of arms control to reduce the multiplication of nuclear weapons and to sign certain kinds of treaties in order to decrease the production of these kinds of small arms and weapons to ensure the global peace and security. Thus, that's the concept of arms control. I hope you will get it. So, what's the role of arms control? What do arms control do? Typically, arms control ban certain classes of weapon systems so that those kinds of weapon systems can't blow a destruction for the masses. Secondly, it places upper limits on the number of weapons that state may possess. So, moreover, it bans the production of weapons that will increase the likelihood of war. Thus, arms control plays a significant role in ensuring the global peace and security among the world politics and among the world states. Nevertheless, the controlling of proliferation of weapons can be done in a number of ways. Firstly, by limiting the number and kinds of weapons that can be legally used in war, the proliferation of weapons can be reduced so that the states might not manufacture more weapons of that kind. Secondly, by reducing the size of arsenals so that At the time, the size of the arsenals and the weapons hold a significant and imperative part. That size of those weapons used to cause a large destruction in that time. So by reducing the size of arsenals, the proliferation of weapons can be done. Thirdly, reducing the overall number of weapons, and fourthly, developing confidence building measures. So that's how the proliferation of weapons can be controlled. But this proliferation of weapons cannot be controlled until and unless there are not certain kinds of treaties and agreements among the states to be signed to ensure that yes, they are not gonna manufacture the nuclear weapons and nuclear arms anymore. So since 1945, many arms control agreements have been focused on non-proliferation or reduction of the nuclear weapons. Thus, the 20th century is meant to be a landmark for the global peace. So some of the famous agreements are: the first one is Geneva Protocol, which was signed in 1925, banning the use of gas and bacteriological weapons. Secondly, Antarctic Treaty. It was signed in 1959, preventing states from using Antarctica for their military purposes. But they are just of small kind. The third and very important arms control treaty was Limited Test Ban Treaty, known as LTBT. LTBT was signed by US, UK, USSR in Moscow on 5th August 1963, which talks about that it banned nuclear weapon tests in the atmosphere, in outer space and underwater. So it banned every treaty has their own objectives. So this treaty banned nuclear weapon test, that no nuclear weapon test can be done in underwater, in atmosphere and in outer space. So where can it be done? So they allowed the nuclear weapon testing in underground so that no mass destruction can happen. So fourth one treaty was Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, NPT. NPT allows only the nuclear weapon states to have nuclear weapons and stops others from acquiring them. NPT allowed at the time, NPT was signed in 1968. So at the time, only 5 states of the world were nuclear states, which were US, USSR, UK, France and China. So this treaty's objective that no state can manufacture their own nuclear weapon and nuclear arm in spite of the 5 except those 5 nuclear states which have manufactured their nuclear arms so far. They also said that a nuclear weapon state is one which has manufactured and exploded a nuclear weapon or other nuclear explosive device prior to 1st January 1967. So that was mainly the objective of Non-Proliferation Treaty. So the 5th one treaty was Strategic Arms Limitation Talks, SALT 1 and 2. SALT 1 and 2, there were the 2 rounds of this treaty. The first round of SALT 1 began in 1969 and which it was signed in 1972. Its main objective was the limitation of anti-ballistic missile systems. So previously we have read that the nuclear weapons, it was about the nuclear weapons banning, but here in this treaty we talk about the limitation of anti-ballistic missiles. So in this treaty we will ban, or the SALT 1 treaty limit the usage and production of anti-ballistic missiles. And second objective was interim agreement on the limitation of strategic offensive arms. So offensive arms which caused the war, these offensive arms were also limited in this treaty. And SALT II, in SALT II, its objective was also to limit the strategic offensive arms, and it was signed in 1979. Furthermore, the last one treaty is Strategic Arms Reduction Talks 1 and 2, START 1 and START 2. This comprises of also two main rounds. So both the rounds of START 1 and START 2 has the same objective of limiting and reducing the strategic offensive arms, which was signed. START 1 was signed in 1991 and the START 2 was signed in 1993. But where the world agreed in stopping or in reducing or in limiting the nuclear weapons and nuclear arms, there exists little doubt that arms control played an important role in decreasing the tensions between the superpowers during the Cold War, because at that time period reveals a number of problems with arms control agreements. Most importantly, accurate verification is difficult. We don't know sitting here that the states which have signed the agreements of non-proliferation of weapons will not manufacture the nuclear weapons again. They can manufacture it. We don't know about their intentions. So that is the idea of arms control. We don't know that the other countries have stopped or not, but we have agreed here. So that's a very point of discussion. We should know that arms control treaty has been a landmark in controlling the proliferation of nuclear weapons, or for the ensurety of security and peace of the world. So that was about the arms control concept. I hope you all will get it. So here's a thank you from my side.